Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's approximately 5:30 p.m., although I'm told this clock is several minutes fast. But hopefully we're just about on the dot at 5:30. We've got a pretty full agenda, so I'm just going to ask commission members before we get started just to be mindful of the agenda and the public so we can move through this agenda as expeditiously but being fair. I understand that people may have signed up as well. Don't worry. So let me just do roll call. Commissioner Bonneker?
Here.
Commissioner Green?
Here.
Commissioner Conklin?
Here.
I am here. Commissioner Budge? Present. Thank you. Commissioner Trujillo?
Here.
Commissioner Crowe? Understood from Joe that it was a mistake to show that he was excused, but he's not present, so we'll just go with what we have, that he is absent. And our City Council liaison, Frank Davis, is here as well. Thank you. Okay. We'd like to inform all applicants that items on the DRB agenda will require a building permit or a sign permit, and that the Design Review Board approval does not necessarily reflect the views and policies of SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, which controls decisions impacting tax status, designated contributing historic properties. Please contact SHPO and review their policies if you've got questions or concerns about that, or contact them directly before making any exterior changes to your property. I understand we have at least one person signed up for call to the public. Yes, Joe Ward?
Donna.
So is there more than one person or just one person signed up? So that one person who has signed up, if they would like to come up and speak to the Design Review Board about topics not on tonight's agenda. And please identify yourself and your address, your residence.
Okay, my name's Donna Pulling. I live at 708 Tombstone Canyon in Old Bisbee. And real quickly, I just have 2 points that I would like to bring to your attention. At the City Council meeting last night, the interim city manager gave a wonderful one-month city manager's report. And one of the things that he emphasized in his report that he has been looking at the historic city-owned buildings for maintenance purposes, because those are our best assets in the city. The fire station, the city hall, the library, and there's a whole inventory of city-owned properties. And so I'm just bringing that to your attention as the Design Review Board, hoping that there will be a coordination between the city manager's desired improvements to the historic buildings, even including the Warren Ballpark here, and the DRB. So just bringing that to your attention and hoping that there is some way, some vehicle that Public Works and the city manager can utilize the resources that you offer through the DRB to go through that process. Secondly, and I'm not sure if, I don't know how this has occurred, but there is a paid parking sign as you enter into the downtown area on Main Street that has been up for quite a number of months, and I'm not sure if that sign has ever been brought to the DRB for consideration and approval. But I just want to bring that to your attention that I'm not sure if the sign has been approved or if it's historically appropriate. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowling. So unless there's anyone else that wants to speak to an item or something that's not on tonight's agenda, okay, call to the public is over. We're going to move on to applications. As I've mentioned before, we've got a fairly full agenda, so I'm just again going to mention both to commission members, since we have one just arrived, thank you, John, that if we can try to focus on the items at hand as they relate to DRB, And just a reminder to people that may be presenting tonight, the Design Review Board is focused on exterior, not interior, so please don't feel you need to be discussing items related to the interior of a property or a building you're working on, but it's the exterior that we have purview over within the historic district. So the first application, DRB application 17-34. This is an unnumbered, non-contributing structure. It's an application to construct a carport at 802C Tombstone Canyon. The property owner is required to obtain prior approval from DRB for the building or structure or anything erected within the historic district. I understand that property owners have been within 300 feet have been notified. Yes, Joe? And has been posted with the notification. And Joe, actually I have a quick question. In terms of the notifications, I've understood that in the past, we've been working off of a somewhat dated property tax listings. So do you know if, just for future reference, for our purposes, if we know that that listing is going to be updated, so you're working with a more current list of property owners for notification purposes?
To let you know when we're going to do that? Or what?
Do you know if that's going to be updated at some point? Or
It's supposed to be updated pretty soon. We'll see how that works. It's in the budget, the money for the update.
Okay.
And, But right now, the information that we're using is almost 10 years old, or around 10 years old.
Right, that was my understanding. Okay, thank you, Joe. I understand that you're going to be presenting?
Yes.
Fellow board members, I'm proposing a 18-foot deep by 20-foot wide metal frame carport with a green metal roof. And if we go to the picture, the drawing, where it says your custom carport, on the left-hand south-facing side, I will have a gray galvanized metal siding. And also in the back of the carport, I will have gray metal galvanized siding. I was going to leave the north side, which is not anything that you can see whatsoever. It's kind of up against the bank. I was going to leave that exposed, but I would be glad to, if necessary, put the metal siding on that wall also. The south-facing side is the one side that you could see down from, from Tombstone Canyon. If you were to look up, you could possibly see that south-facing side. And the metal roofing will be a dark green, forest green color. And the framing is actually a 2x2 metal framing as opposed to wood. And it sits, if you see the picture of the fence, the property where it sits, there's a cut bank behind and then a fence in front, where my house actually sits below the fence in front. Up on, this is up, if you went up behind Schoolhouse and off of Pace Avenue, and that's about it. Questions?
Okay. Commission members, anyone have questions for Mr. Bonneker?
Well, Bill, I'm wondering, the metal siding, will that be corrugated siding, or what?
Yes.
What sort, vertically, with the corrugations running vertically, or what?
Yeah, I would prefer to do them vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will try to age it if I can find proper siding where I can actually age it with the muriatic acid aging so that it kind of actually rusts it out so it looks old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is this as a carport, is this a kit or something, or?
It is,
How's
yeah.
that?
It comes, on a pallet and you put it together.
Uh-huh. The one thing that comes to mind as I think about this is the idea of precedent and of wondering if, while this looks, this looks okay to me, what would it be like if one of these ends up on Tombstone Canyon that is a kit carport? I know that about 15 years ago there were issues about that. Ken may know something about that. And so I'm just kind of wondering about that in the larger context of this.
Did you want Commissioner Bonneker, Mr. Bonneker to speak to that, or Commissioner Budge, because of the history of
Ken,
context?
do you have any information on that from back then?
Yes, it was
there was a lot of those pop-up carports that were coming that were, back then, were actually covered with canvas. They were not deemed as historically appropriate for Bisbee and were disallowed. It went back and forth because one of them, a lot of people didn't come to get a building permit to do that, so they just popped up. And so eventually two of them were removed. I think one of them still stayed. It was left up to the city and the attorney to deal with it, but we never approved one and said that was appropriate. These type of structures are not, have never, I know that the DRB has ever approved one, so this would probably be one of the first as far as somebody that actually came before us instead of just doing it, you know, and then later we find out about it. So that's about as much as I know. I was up there and looked at it. I mean, we try to be, I mean, just not far away from you, the neighbor, we looked at their chain link fencing and said, okay, because you aren't on the main thoroughfare where more things would be seen. However, my problem is that I do feel that precedents, there's chain link fencing among a lot of areas in town. We just haven't caught them all. I don't want to start this type of procedure and have somebody come and say, you approved this one. If you would have approved and just went and done it, I would have felt better. But I
don't think that's the standard we're going for, though.
But that's my problem is, you know, come and ask for forgiveness, but no, I have to say these type of things, I'd rather see them, if you're going to build some kind of a carport or a garage, it should be a permanent situation with footings and, you know, a roof and something that's last. That's just the way I think that we can keep our historic district in a better frame of mind.
Mr. Browniker, did you want to respond?
Well, no, I understand where you're coming from. My only response is that if this were wood framing as opposed to metal framing, then it wouldn't be considered a kit. It would be considered a stick-built garage, which, you know, can be done, obviously, but in the long run, the overall appearance wouldn't change. It would look the same. I mean, that's just my argument, but I understand if I can't do it, then I understand. But if you were to replace this with wood, it would still look the same. You know, it would not architecturally look one iota different from a visual, so.
Other questions, Commissioner?
I would make reference to that. If it was come before us in wood, we wouldn't have this little 7-foot high sidewalls with a very low-pitched roof. Generally, we would have a much more substantial type structure. I think that's generally what you see of a carport made. I think it would look different if it was wood because it would be designed differently. You could design it and look like this if it would, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be something that would be aesthetically approvable.
Commissioner Crowe?
I've got some column. I think if we approve this, that somebody's going to come along and build one in Tombstone Canyon. What can we say?
Use the microphone.
I couldn't hear you, John.
I think if we approve this, it's going to set a precedence that we'll regret. It just, and it, you know, as Ken pointed out, with 7-foot walls, and there's just something about it just looks very temporary, and it doesn't really fit into the architecture of Old Bisbee.
There happens to be one right behind Schoolhouse Inn, if you guys noticed as you drove up there.
Yes.
That was one that got put up without any approval. But again, we didn't approve it. That's,
If it was there, I guess.
Does anybody know how long ago that went up?
I don't know.
Because I noticed that for the first time walking up
I
there.
know.
Walking up to Bill's the other day, you know?
I went, oh, shoot, there's one right there as I went up there.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from Mr. Browniker? motion to approve or deny? It
I
seems
move-
to me we're at an impasse in terms of
I'm ready to
feedback.
make a motion
Mhm.
to deny the applicant's application.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Sorry, Bill.
Yeah, sorry, Bill.
okay, moving on to next item. This is DRB application 17-35. This is an application to construct a new home. On our agenda, it says at 204C Opera Drive, which Mr. Ward has confirmed is what on record is indicated as the address. At least when you're attempting to access the property, it lists or shows as 200G. Looking at this, the old markings going up the steps. So I assume that Mr. Green, you with the city will resolve that, but for our purposes, this is 204C Opera Drive that we're reviewing.
My map's there.
Okay.
And this is to build a residential structure on what had been an empty lot. So, Mr.
Correct.
Identify yourself and your...
My name is Richard Green. I live at 603 Tombstone Canyon Road. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Yeah, historically, the lot, it's a very steep area. There was, in old photographs, there was a house there, a double-story house, very similar to the drawing, and it burnt down, as many other structures in that area burnt down because it's probably because it is so steep, and they were made of all wood back in the day. I'm talking about early 1900s. So I was very concerned about building anything that could possibly burn. I don't know if anybody went up there, but the house directly below it, it's about 15 feet, and it is all wood. And so I was very concerned about building anything in wood because of the fire danger. So I looked at Hardy Backer, which is somewhat fire-proof, fire-resistant, but from my experience being a handyman and repair and maintenance person, I've had to replace a lot of Hardy Backer because it absorbs moisture. And it's not as fire-resistant or fireproof as the material that I'm going to be using, which is a pumice, poured pumice masonry material.
So that's going to be wall construction?
It's going to be, correct, it's going to be poured in layers.
Is that, I can't think of the name of are you getting the blocks that are styrofoam?
No, it's pumice is a natural volcanic rock.
So you're pouring it in this?
Correct, and it's a 1 part
Right.
Portland cement
Yeah,
to
so
20
yeah,
parts.
Yeah.
So it's very lightweight. It's a great material. It's got an R value of approximately 30 for a 12-inch wall. It's fireproof. It's moisture-proof. It doesn't absorb. It's insect-proof. It's a superior material in my
So-
opinion.
I have a question about the windows.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of windows there.
Yes.
Are they going to be flush with the interior or flush with the exterior? Or will they be set in?
They'll be set in. Yes.
If you want like an Adobe style house, generally the windows are set in.
Correct.
So it looks much better.
Yeah, I agree. And they're going to be single hung, and the difference between single hung and double hung, if you don't know, single hung just means the bottom opens, slides up. I know on the drawing I didn't really make that clear, but double hung, both will slide. So it's they are operable.
So there are 2 panels to each window? there's a top panel and a lower panel, but only the lower panel actually.
Correct.
Just like the windows in the building here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The
Yeah, that
the
was-
double hung are just, they're easier to clean, and they're more expensive, they're heavier to install, so, yeah.
Okay.
The windows are going to be double pane, so the R values are going to be better than the single pane.
Commissioner Budge?
So, one, so there be no trim around the windows at all, and what I'm struggling with, this is pretty much doesn't tell me, and there is no material list. I don't really know what the posts are made out of. I really don't, the railing is bothering me because I don't know the size and the shape of
You
the
didn't get
railing.
the material list on the next page? Yeah.
Right, but okay, first, the roof. What type of, it says metal roof. Is it going to be corrugated? Is it going to be raised panel? What type of roof?
Doors, stucco, it's
It
corrugated.
does indicate corrugated
Yeah,
roof.
corrugated roofing.
Okay, that's great. Next is the railings itself and the posts. This whole thing's going to be steel out here?
Well, unfortunately, that's the south side, or the east side of the house, which is directly 15 feet from a very flammable building if that goes up. So I'm going to, I'm going to have to do it in metal.
So you're
Otherwise, it
Okay.
would defeat the purpose of building the walls out of pumice.
Let me just give you one quick hint as a firefighter for 30 years. The house looks really great, but you know what happens in a fire is your windows blow out. You got so many windows here, unless you put metal in windows, all your stuff will be for naught, because if the fire starts, it'll just blow through.
Well, in addition, I didn't put on the application, I'm going to put a metal fence, some kind of, that we'll probably have to go through this as well, just as a fire break. Unfortunately, it's kind of a balancing act in terms of efficiency. I wanted to add enough solar gain so I wouldn't have a lot of heating costs.
Okay. So generally what we have is we have a window detail. It tells me they're 3x5s, they're whatever. By this, I can't really, it's not really to scale, so I'm having a little trouble.
Well, there are dimensions on it, if you look on
On the windows?
well, near the windows, below, there's 7 feet, 26 feet.
That's-
So the drawing is to scale, so it's a quarter inch is a foot.
Okay. It's like, this window's like a foot off the ground, and this window's like 2 feet off the ground, and...
Correct, because it's changed.
So
It
that's-
changes on purpose.
So what I need is I need a material list with all the windows listed and showing where they are in here, so we have a full picture of what the building's going to look like. You know, that's...
That's what it looks like.
and-
This is
Okay,
what it
these
looks like.
cannot be these are going to be square, single hung on top?
That's the attic space, so
Yeah.
they're not going to be operable.
Okay, so, see, that's not listed in here. You said it's all single hung windows.
How does that affect the way it looks? I don't think that affects the way it looks.
Absolutely, because double hung have a bar in the middle without any, you're just going to have a plain window. You look at our windows here, see how, that's what the old style is you have either single or double, you have a divider
They
in the
look
middle.
the same.
Huh?
They look the same.
Yeah.
Double
So
pane
up
and single
here,
pane look the
there
same.
is none.
Correct.
Yeah, so I didn't, that's why I'm struggling with this whole thing, because I don't have a window detail. I don't really have,
There's not much to put down on the window detail. I mean,
well, the size is a really important thing.
3 by 4.
Based on the, what's that?
It's 3 by 4 mostly, except for the larger ones, which is 3 by 5.
Okay.
If you want me to write a list, I could do that.
Well, that's what normally gets submitted, is a material list with windows and then
Okay, if you want,
a size.
if you want me to go back and do that,
Well,
I'll
I'm just
reapply.
saying that's what I'm struggling with. This is good, this
I
is
know,
a
it's all right.
community decision.
I'm the builder, so I take it for granted, I guess,
Yeah, well, we can't,
right?
because I just had a building on Tombstone Canyon that we approved T111 because they were going to put battens over it, but instead they put up T111 with lines in it, and the battens didn't cover the lines, because we didn't specify T111 without battens. Now, that's how critical we're going to have to get, apparently, in order to keep people building the way we should here in Bisbee. That's an example of why I'm getting frustrated, because I'm not going to approve anything that comes before me anymore without a complete material list that shows me exactly what they're going to use, so that when he inspects it, he knows what we've approved. That's what I'm getting at right now. That's where I'm going, so I know I'm frustrated. I'm not taking it out on you.
It's okay.
It's just what I've been
This is my first
experiencing.
time actually
I know.
submitting this, so it's all process.
Generally,
Other questions?
on our exterior plans, we need all four sides of basically the exterior views and pretty much drawn to scale.
Well, you got two sides drawn to scale, so if you could just flip that around in your brain,
So it's going to be exactly the same on the other side.
pretty much. I mean, it's a split story, so you know, the upstairs is twice as big as the downstairs.
And the windows you have here, you say they're single hung, but they look like they're just solid windows. There's no,
Well, that's what I explained. I can't, it was,
all that, as Ken points out, we need some more detail, otherwise.
okay.
The posts, what are the dimensions on those that's supporting the roof and the deck porch?
4x4, that's standard.
And those are steel?
Yeah, they'll be,
Other questions or comments for commission members for Mr. Green?
The detail on the balusters, what will those,
sorry?
the balusters will be 2x2 or thinner, or?
It's metal stock, I guess. It would be a
And the size of that?
standard metal stock.
You have the height from top to the peak of the roof to the bottom of
Correct.
26 feet, I believe. How tall are each floor? Are they 8 foot or 10 foot?
How tall is what?
How tall is it from the ground to the first deck?
To the first deck? It is drawn to scale, so... That'd be 8 feet, 9.5 inches.
And then from the deck to the porch roof, is that about the same then?
From the deck to the porch roof, 26 minus 8 feet, 9.5 inches.
So you say 26 minus 1?
If I understood your question, it would be 26 feet minus 8 feet, 9.5 inches.
No, so my next question was, what's the measurement between the deck and the porch roof?
The porch roof.
Yeah,
Oh.
your second story, basically. Not-
The second story deck?
Yeah, not the third. Not including the third.
That would be 6, approximately 7 feet.
Commissioner Butch? You were done, Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Butch?
Here's the thing, on our ordinance 06-32 building heights under the historic district, It says the maximum building height for a new single-family residential structure shall be 23 feet. So I cannot approve this as it's drawn up.
Is that is that stepped back?
That's from the ground floor.
Even when it's,
I'm just reading the ordinance right here, and you need to talk to Joe about heights, but that's what's in our ordinance. Now,
I mean, I'm trying to understand what the logic is if you
main
have,
logic was because you block views of people behind you.
there's nobody
I
behind
know,
me.
for you, that's not the case,
And-
but I'm trying to tell you what the ordinance is and why I need better plans in order to justify why I'm
Right.
going
And
above
I'm just-
23 feet.
I'm just clarifying
Okay.
how steep it is.
I've been there, walked all the way up there, I looked at, you're parking right next to the old van, that's the yellow van, I know
Yeah.
exactly where it is, so
Is it possible to get a variance of that in a situation like this because it is on a hillside?
yeah, you can, there is authority to increase or decrease up to 6 feet. So
Oh,
that is
Very-
possible, but I need to know exact heights and so on in order to do that. So just so everybody knows, that's part of our regulations.
what's that code? Sorry.
It's 532, special provisions for the Historic District A building heights. It's under ordinance 0632.
0632. Thanks.
So commissioners, I mean, there've been a number of concerns raised, questions brought up. Just making sure I've got your attention. So you brought up a number of questions and concerns. I know the applicants tried to respond to some, but I think there's others that are still outstanding. And I think from what people have expressed, the initial drawings that we've gotten do not answer enough of the questions or enough of the detail to know what the exact structure will look like upon completion. The variance might be dealt with separately through a process that doesn't involve the design review board.
It does.
This process for the height?
Yes. We have to give the variance just like we do for setbacks.
Thank you, Commissioner Budge. So unless someone has a motion to entertain, I'm thinking it might make more sense for the applicant to actually come back at a point when more of these questions and concerns can be addressed, or at least presented to us in a more complete manner, and we know what the exact dimensions of the structure will be. One of our commissioners has also asked for a more complete listing of the materials for this new structure, and I think that might make this process a little clearer for us as a body.
So should I go do the ordinance,
Well, you'll have to request for a variance.
right, should I do that
And
first?
I don't think that's a
or-
problem, because I've been up there, it's on such a steep hill, the height is probably not going to be much higher than the back of the mountain when
Right.
it's all said and
Right,
done.
yeah.
I just wanted to make you aware of that situation, most people aren't.
Okay, thanks.
What I would like to see personally is I'd like to see what we normally get, which is a set of plans that has a north view, south view, a site plan. I mean, your site plan's kind of there. It was hard to kind of, it's among three walls, right? I mean, it's kind of a U-shaped three-wall thing.
Yeah.
And then with
My
each-
question is, should I get the variance first before coming back
No,
here?
you come
Oh,
and ask for the variance for the height, and I don't have a problem with it, because it's,
Do I ask now, or what do we?
well, you do it when you bring the more complete plans
Oh,
back.
okay.
With actually telling me what each floor height is, actual windows drawn to scale, labeled with a material list for them.
Okay.
Single hung, not the ones up in the gables are not. Those usually aren't something we usually allow a lot, just a regular window up in the, is it going to be a livable space up there, or are you just?
Just
not-
attic space.
Just attic
Yeah.
space, okay. So, some of those things would help me out a lot, I know.
Okay.
I need to know what the soffit fascia is going to be made of, since you're so against wood, how are you going to do the soffit
Yeah, there's
fascia?
not going to be a soffit or a fascia.
So you're going to have wood exposed out? I mean, see, right here, I don't see if there's any kind of a overhang.
So,
You understand what I'm getting at? Usually you have an overhang from
Right.
the roof.
right, yeah.
I don't see one here, so I wasn't sure. is it going to have exposed
You don't see the overhang?
rafters coming out that's going to hold the roof with wood? If you're not going to
Right.
have a soffit, that kind of thing tells us then how
Well,
the house
the
will
so-
look.
you know what a soffit is.
Right.
It goes underneath,
Right.
and if it's made out of wood, it's going to catch fire.
Right.
So,
So it either has to be metal, or you're
Right.
going to have to not have a soffit and have exposed wood.
no soffit and no...
Well, there's
yeah.
going to be rafters, or something's going
Yeah,
to, tails
there's
are
going to
going
be
to...
rafters.
All right, anyway, that's,
We need
I'm
the
trying to
detail,
help.
Yeah, I know, you are. I'm learning here.
we need the detail of what the rafters, basically how it's going to look, but much greater detail.
Okay.
We generally know the pitch of the roof, too, if it's a 412 or if it's a 3.
I've got that in the...
Yeah, it needs to be on us.
I think
And Ken,
Commissioner
I did-
Boddicker had a question or feedback, Joe. We just-
Yeah, I'd like a question for Joe Ward. The window placement seems to me to not meet second-story shear code due to the proximity of the corners. There's not. Is that a potential problem as far as the window placement?
Yeah, he's given me better, well, we went over some plans already that he had. I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, you guys are getting
They're not
pretty
approved yet.
particular about the construction when you're just, I thought, primarily for just aesthetics.
Well, if...
With the masonry,
Yeah, okay,
with the reinforced masonry, because he is reinforcing it too,
okay.
that, I believe it's allowable the way it is, but I'll double check that.
Okay.
And Ken, I did know the, not that you were implying that I didn't, but I did know that we did have the height limitation, but then there's,
But we're
you
gonna
guys
have
are the ones that make those choices,
Yeah,
you
but
know?
we have to make that variance, right?
Right, you guys have to do it, so I left it up to you guys.
So, Commissioner Boddicker, you had your
Yeah.
question answered. Where, Mr. Green, I know we've kind of asked a lot of questions, and I know this is an ambitious project to be taking on, so thank you for bearing
Sure,
with
no
us.
problem. Thank you for
But were there any
giving me
other
the feedback.
questions either you had for us in terms of feedback?
You know, one other thing, what was your...
Doesn't make me want to build it,
What
you
is
know?
your deck going to be made out here on the...
The deck,
Yeah,
probably some kind of metal so it doesn't burn down.
I know. So that's
Yeah.
another detail that would be nice to have on our list so that we can...
Right, right.
You could
So
just
you-
put metal and then pour, a lightweight concrete on it or something even.
That might work. Yeah,
There's ideas.
okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
I'm going to make a motion that we just table this, that it comes back with a little more improved design until next meeting or whenever he gets back with it.
Okay.
That we're not denying it or anything, it's
Thanks.
just being tabled. Okay? I make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, thank you, Mr. Green.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Who seconded
moving
that?
along. Yes, Joe? What?
Second.
Who's the second? Okay,
Mr. Trujillo.
thank you.
DRB application 17-39, just contributing structure number 373, and this is an application for permission to replace an existing porch railings with wooden spindle railings. This is for the property at 518 Brophy. If there's someone here to speak to that, if they could come up here, identify themselves and their address. We promise we won't bite.
Oh, it sounds like it.
I lived there before.
In the microphone.
I'm Calvin Fulgini. I live at 104 Dorothy Drive down in San Jose, but I'm working on this house up on Brophy. I do usually just do maintenance on it because it's one of those houses they're renting out to tourists, weekly instead of monthly and stuff. So I do little fix-it stuff for them all the time, plus take care of the properties. But
I actually have to stop you for just a moment because the 518 is not this property. This is actually this is on Brophy, but I think in our order, we've got a 6 Laughlin Avenue. Just
no,
making sure.
it is 518 Brophy.
Right, your address is correct. I'm just making sure what we have is correct.
Yeah,
Because we
518
did-
Brophy Avenue.
Right, we didn't have it listed here on the agenda. We have the
Ah.
application, but not the address, is
Oh,
what I'm
I see.
getting at.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So just making sure that commission members are clear, we are looking at 518 Brophy, not 6 Laughlin.
Right.
So you all have the correct application. Thank you. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, what it is our previous owners put siding on it. The whole house has siding on it. It's a 10-inch siding, vertical or horizontal. But what they're trying to do is make it the way it used to be. So all I have to do is take that siding out of there and put a top rail bottom. The posts are already there. They're kind of beat up. They're pretty beat up, but I'm going to try to doctor them up a little bit. But mainly, I've already got the spindles of redwood, 2-inch, and it'd be at 36 inches. And I have a problem with that because the old railings and those posts aren't designed for a 36-inch. The carving goes down below that, so I'm going to have to box that bottom end to make it look like there wasn't a list. It's only 4 inches. So I'm going to box the bottom of those. Would probably help them anyway because they're pretty old.
And that's in order to meet
Otherwise, yeah, the code. Otherwise, there isn't any trouble with structural or anything like that. It's just all make it look like it used to. Pretty simple.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
I have
Commissioner
a
Carrera?
question. One is, when you box wood like that, it's going to tend to rot much faster. Just a suggestion is, if you took your railing and cut it circular and just...
You remember what I told you about that? It's exactly what I'm going to do, because the way they have it now,
Yeah.
they cut it in and then they filled in those sides. I'd rather drill a hole into the 2x6 top, and that way I can even drill the hole small and carve it in so I can get it as tight as I want, and then dowel.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to dowel it. I'm not going to screw it either. I'm going to dowel that way.
No, that's good, that's good.
Because otherwise, I don't think I can get structural sound with screws in the side of that, so.
Right. No, I
But
think
you're
that-
right, though, it's definitely.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions or comments?
Just a comment that the detailing looks really nice. It really looks like it will bring it back and remind the house of who it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be my buddy's grandparents' house back in the day.
The sad part is, we have to bring it up to code, which is 36 inches, and
I
they
know.
never made the square post that high back then.
It's true.
It's like, why can't we, anyway.
I
know.
think, hey, you gotta remember, people were shorter back then.
That must be it.
Quick recovery. Other questions?
I don't think there was less drinking, but...
No, because the garage is, like you were saying before, the garage on this place was made for a Model T. They had their old 52 truck in there. We had to take all the tires out of, all the air out of the tires to get it out of there because they paved the road, and the road comes up now, and we couldn't get it out of there. We had literally had to get it out the
We
wheels
don't want to
get the
discourage
truck out of
repaving
there.
in Old Bisbee. But I want to make sure, are there any other questions or comments from commission members?
I move to approve DRB 17-39.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Crow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
good.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. We're on to DRB application 17-40. It's a non-contributing structure, number 212. This is an application to erect a fence at 6 Lachlan Avenue. Is there someone here to represent the Lachlan Avenue property? If you could come up here and identify yourself and your address, and give us a brief description of the project.
Michael Story, 6 Lockland Avenue, and just a fence along the front, facing Lockland, on both sides of the house, hopefully. Because there's nothing there on the, facing the right side, there's no fence, and on the left side, there's a old, well, not old, it's kind of a cheap, pretending to look old fence, wire fence they have there, but it's just very flimsy.
Questions for the applicant or comments?
I think it looks fine.
I think Mr.
Other
Oldfield is going to do it.
Questions or concerns? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept 17-40 as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Good luck with your work. Okay, moving on to DRB application 17-41. This is contributing structure 300. This is an application to construct a pergola and a platform deck at 3 Moon Canyon. This home is a contributing structure. If you would come on up here, identify yourself and your address, and give us a brief description of the project, that would be great.
Good evening. My name is Sloan Bouchevet. I live at 1 Moon Canyon, and I'm hoping to construct a pergola over my dining table in my backyard. And then behind my garage, I'd like to put a platform deck as well.
Thank you. Questions, comments from commissioners?
Sloan, the material that the pergola is composed of?
Is redwood.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Budge?
I usually always have something to say.
That's what I was counting on.
Well, it doesn't really affect the contributing structure to the yard situation, so that's where I don't have much of a problem at all. We actually allowed them to close in one of the porches a while ago to create something, and that looks, if you do as good a job on this one as you did that one, then it won't be a problem. So
Absolutely.
I remember that one.
These pictures are so good. Are you asking for forgiveness or permission?
That's right there.
You can thank Brian Hope for his graphic design skills.
Excellent.
I think it looks fine, personally.
Yeah.
It's completely hidden from the street as well, so.
We need to give this to Mr. Green.
Yes.
Moving along, any other questions or comments for the applicants?
No.
I make a motion that we pass 17-41 as presented.
I second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you. Good luck with
Thank
your
you.
project.
Thank you very much.
Have fun.
Okay, DRB application 17-44. This is an application for retroactive approval of a retaining wall. The home at this location is a contributing structure, number 454. Is there someone here to speak to this application? Yes? If you come on up here, identify yourself and your address, and give us a little brief description of this retroactive application.
Hi, Noah Subi, 26 High Road. I apologize for having to bring you this application retroactively. It's a wall that's been started between a neighbor and 23E Tembe, and it is a retaining wall going the length of not the whole property, but the house, and just to keep future debris coming off of the existing wall that's there. So we're doing it in approximately 1 foot lifts, like a lot of the walls have been done over time here in Bisbee, reinforced, epoxied into the bedrock below. But for DRB, in the case of the DRB, you could see the first 3 lifts if you went up there to see what the wall was going to look like. So hopefully you like what the wall looks like. Otherwise, we'll be starting it again on the outside of it. But it's going to stay that way.
You don't have room to overhang of the house, is right there.
Yeah, the neighbor will be. It'll be going just to the height of where the posts of the railing with the double looped wire is, just to the grade level of 23E Tembe.
Since I always have something to say, Noah, I was just going to say, as long as you don't stucco it like you did on the Brewery Gulch, leave the old style, I would be happy.
Yeah, that one was
Yeah, I know.
so crooked that it kind of has to be done.
That was
But
an
yeah.
one of those old port walls, too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to clarify something, or help you clarify
Okay.
something. Subi Construction is not doing this work, is it?
No.
No, but
Yeah, and that's just,
they'll be finishing the work.
I don't want to stick it to you. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Other questions
Thanks.
or comments for the applicants?
I'd like to make a motion to approve application 1744 to continue this wall.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Crowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Go to it.
Thank you.
You're
Once I
welcome.
clear it with the city, I'll continue the wall again. Yeah, I still have more work to do.
No stucco.
Okay, this is our DRB application 17-45. This is contributing structure number 191. This is an application to reconstruct a deck on the home at 907 Tombstone Canyon, and the home at this location is a contributing structure, number 191. Is there someone to speak to this application tonight? This is for 907 Tombstone Canyon. Joe, any background or knowledge?
I guess I got drafted.
You become the default. Thank you.
Do I have to state my name and where I live? Hey, get on the right page here, guys. Oh, yeah, Mr. Lee.
So what can you tell us?
Mr. Lee has an existing deck that is in a pollen shape. It's scary to walk on. He wants to rebuild it. He wants to extend it to the property line, which of course is going to require him to use fire-treated wood. As what that, I believe, was what he was proposing. And metal rails, and rebuild the structure that supports everything.
Any questions for Mr. Ward about this application?
So it's extending further in the back or on the side?
No, they're behind there. The orange house is Mark Appel's house, and he wanted to extend to his property line, the property line between him and Mr. Appel's, which I think is about 2 feet further than the existing is.
Oh,
Supposed to go back.
okay.
Other questions for Mr. Ward about this?
So all the railing has to be metal because it can't be fire.
Yeah, because anything within 5 foot of the...
Yeah. I'm not a real fan of 3/4 inch tubing, but that's,
Yeah, why don't you guys, if you don't want that, tell him what you want? I think that'd be no less than fair. Because I did tell him that you guys like the 1.5 inches. And I don't know if my...
I mean, it's a little more money because
didn't
it's
say-
more steel, but you don't have to put as many because you're 4 inches apart.
It also looks more authentic.
Yeah.
Right. I would prefer to have that for railing.
Maybe a heavier top rail.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that is 1.5 inch pickets with,
I didn't make it over there, but what I'm curious, Joel, is how visible is it from the street?
not very.
Almost not.
Pretty much tucked away?
I
Yeah,
couldn't,
helicopters can see it, though.
I couldn't really get around there
Oh, yeah.
much. What I didn't like was the chain link fencing on the front of the house, but I was hoping he was going to be here so I could give him a hard time about that. But again, it's the neighbors, so I'm thinking, what would the neighbor want to see?
It looks like it's so close to the neighbor's house, he wouldn't see anything.
Probably
So
not.
maybe he's okay.
It's not. It's my preference. I'm fine if you guys want to approve it as is.
And I was intending to, before I gave him a building permit, talk to Mr. Appel, who's on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I know him. So I was going to talk with him about what he thought about the neighbor building up against to the property line.
Well, we've got an application here tonight, so my preference would be to either move this forward or refer it back to the applicant who's not here, although I understand you're doing the best you can to represent the applicant. There've been some questions or thoughts from commission members.
If you guys, excuse me, if you guys are more comfortable with holding it back to where it is, which is, like I said, about 2 foot off the property line, it's just a matter of just saying so, if that is your desire.
Commission members?
I'd feel if the neighbor knows that it's going to happen, they would be here to say something against it or write an email. I know Mark also, I'm sure he would have said something. I don't think he has a problem with it. Like I said, it's an outside the house, it's so hard to see, you can't see anything, so. And I don't think we're setting a big precedence allowing that handrail to be there. It's not out in full whatever, but it's just my preference that we try to keep the railing more traditional, but
Commissioner Crowell, and then Commissioner Trujillo.
I'm willing to make a motion with maybe just a suggestion to make the railing a little heavier, as a suggestion.
You want to hear from Commissioner Trujillo before you make your motion, or?
What do you think?
Well, what I'm thinking is that, I'm kind of focused on this consistency and not setting precedences that we have to clean up our messes later. So I am in agreement with Ken that I would like to see it with the 1.5-inch balusters instead.
You want to consider that in your motion?
Yeah, so I'll rephrase that motion, accepting DRB 17-46 with the inclusion of a heavier material for a railing, 1.5 inch.
It's, I'm sorry to correct you, but it's 17-45.
Oh, 45, I'm sorry. 17-45. With the inclusion of a heavier railing with 1.5 inch vertical balustrades and probably at least a 2-inch top railing.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Bigger railing, bigger top. Okay.
All right, moving on to DRB application 17-46. This is an application to remodel the exterior of the home at 51A Spring Canyon. If there's someone here from there, if you would come up, identify yourself and your address. And thank you for those of you that have waited through our somewhat longer meeting tonight.
I'm Peter Gaffer. I'm the owner with my wife of the property, 51A Spring Canyon, Bisbee. And our proposal is to make some changes to the doors and windows on the existing house for various and sundry reasons. I think the easiest way to walk you through the program is to go to the two photographs at the back of the packet. If you look at photo A, the west side of the house, the window, which is more or less at the center of the photograph, what we would like to do is to turn that into a door, which would be glazed, with a side panel, which would be operable. In order to do that, because of the height of the floor inside, and to make it a little bit more consistent with the two windows to the left side, we would be raising the lintel a little bit by about 6 inches in order to get a standard 80-inch door in there. Then that's the first part. There are 4 parts to a request. If you turn to the second photograph, which is a view into the courtyard, starting towards the left-hand side, you'll see 2 windows, 2 sets of metal windows, which we would like to replace by 2 smaller windows. The existing windows are extremely inefficient. They're metal leaky windows, single pane, single glazed, I mean. And there is no need for that amount of light into the space because there are also 2 skylights over this small room. We will be replacing those 2 windows with 2 smaller windows, which you'll see on the plan. And then in the space around the corner, above where the little round table is, there would be a 3rd window. We would also get rid of the door, which you can see to the right-hand side of the plum tree. That would be blocked in. The 4th part of this plan would be to create a new entry, which would mean replacing the window, which is to the right-hand side of the photograph, with a door.
With the benches that we see now?
Excuse me?
With that benches
Where
in this
that,
picture?
yeah, where the bench is, yeah, above that. We would like to replace that with a door. There are various and sundry reasons why we want to make these changes. The most important is that
The little room, which is an addition to a adobe house, it's not a good place to be. It's boiling hot in the summer and freezing cold in the winter. We want to bring it up to some sort of measurable code, as well as repurpose that space. We want to make a new entry into the house, but as I said, you don't want to get into the interior details, but essentially by doing this, I think we would make the house, make this extension look less like an addition and more like the original house. That's all I have.
Thank you. Questions or comments for the applicants, commission members? Commissioner Budge?
I was up there, as you know,
Yes.
a while ago.
Yes.
I just quickly looked at it again from distance. Didn't
Right.
want to bother you, but it's a non-contributing structure. I don't think that you've done anything here that would detract horribly from the overview. You've got a door coming out the back of the house now. You're just moving the door to a
Right.
different place and changing a couple of window sides. So I'm perfectly fine with it as is. You'll meet the same kind of trim and lintel that you have existing, so it kind of
Right.
matches.
Right.
You don't
Right.
want something to look like it stands out.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
So if you do that, then that would be my request, that it kind of look like, like it was always there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Do we have a motion then?
I move to approve DRB 1746.
Do we have a second?
That's
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it possible we went through all the applications tonight, and it's 6:35 or so? Okay, commission members.
Well, we're starting a half hour early.
I know, but still, that's a little over an hour, that's doing pretty good. Number 9 item is for discussion and possible action, amending the design standards of the Historic District for windows over bathtubs and showers. Windows and showers are notoriously problematic. They must be installed high to minimize water leaking around the window into the wall, and the building code specifies a minimum window size of 3 square feet, 1/2 of which must be operable in bathrooms without mechanical ventilation. Just wanted to, for the benefit of the public, so you know what we're considering, how can remodelers and builders meet the requirements of the code in our historic district? The guidelines for the Bisbee Historic District wants vertically oriented rectangles used for windows. This is impractical for modernized bathrooms. Transom-type awning window would be a superior solution to this continuing problem. As commission members know, we've had some issues brought to our attention, even with approvals we've made of final window designs that both commission members and members of the public have had serious concerns about not meeting historic standards. I believe, Joe, you have taken the lead on who's bringing this to tonight's meeting, so maybe you can speak to this further.
Yeah. This sizing of the windows has led to some really ugly solutions, and people putting in horizontal sliders and sneaking them in and that kind of thing. And you can put yourself in the position of a window in a shower and how you don't want it to be. And it seems to me, from my standpoint, that that the transom type awning window would be historically authentic and a usable solution for that. But you guys are the bosses, and I just wanted to bring it to you guys and try to solve a problem that's been continuing in the district.
And if I understand, Joe, just for context, I mean, this is also to help provide clarity for you, where we give you the authority for administrative approval, so we don't wind up with results that afterwards we look at and go, well, how could we ever have given anyone administrative approval for that result, because it does not meet what our intentions were. So again, I appreciate you bringing this
I have
forth.
a house here in Warren that was built in 1914, and it had, in the bathroom, it had a window like that, and in the kitchen too. And so for the period, it is historically authentic. That window is the originals that were in the house. And it just, I noticed that in the design guidelines, it says no awning windows, but then the picture clarifies it better for me, that the old awning windows like they used to put in mobile homes, that they'd have the different leaves that opened up.
So the louvered or jalousie one,
Yeah, well, almost like a jalousie, but a little bit bigger. In the 70s, they used those a lot in mobile homes. And I think that would be totally tasteless and out of place in the district.
Florida.
Yeah, but I think that the single, like the transom windows, it would be reasonable, and that's what I'm referring to when I call what I'm calling about for.
Commission members?
I totally agree. I mean, they work the best, you crank them out, you get the most ventilation, and when they're closed, they look like a fixed window.
Yeah, unless it's in the front of the building or but generally bathrooms are in the back or the side, and I think in most cases it would.
Yeah, I mean,
As historically as my house is about as historic as it gets, we all have add-ons where bathrooms came in. So he added the lean-to off the Coretto house. 3 windows, one was for the bathroom and then another was the bedroom, and they all had 3, which I replaced. They are now awning windows. And so, yeah, that was built in 1917. The house was 06. I found the newspapers from 1917 in the walls, so the Italian newspapers. So I know that it was built in 1917. So yeah, I think that those, they don't quite work like, the new ones are much nicer than the old ones, but yeah, they are, because the building wasn't tall enough for double hungs, so they just put in long, narrow ones, but they weren't sliders, they were awnings. So so I think that it's a doable thing. It's what's in my bathroom actually out there, and luckily I don't have a shower over it. But
Would there be any, my concern would be that, several people understand what one goal would be. I want to anticipate that there's something out there that's a louvered window we would not want to see, so we anticipate it either in terms of our language, if we went ahead to change the language.
And you can limit the size, that would be good too.
And some of you have much more knowledge or experience of that than I do, just to know what possible products are out there, modern products, where someone would say, well then, here, I want to put this louver window in, and again, you don't know what you don't like till you see it. Then we go, oh, no, we didn't mean that. Commissioner Bonner?
well, you could specify that it be single pane window, which would disallow louvered windows.
Interesting, because I'm thinking, I'm just anecdotally, I bought a house that had a front louvered window with an arts and craft diamond motif in it, right? But so it wouldn't be considered single pane, but it was a louvered window that opens out like that to let air in. So potentially, if we would made it a single pane, something that is historic, and I've seen in several old Bisbee homes, so I have to assume they were being shipped in here back in the day, potentially we would not be approving because it wasn't single pane. I'm just going to use that as examples.
When
As
you
part of the
say louvered
international
window, what do you mean? I mean, you mean like the little slats of glass that all open up at once? That's what I consider a louvered window, but maybe you're not.
I guess I'm thinking of, say, a rectangular window frame that angles out. Would you consider that a louvered window?
No, I'd call that an awning.
Okay.
there's awning and there's transom. Transom's usually open inward, and awnings open outward. And they're a single pane of glass. They can be double pane, of course, but it moves as one complete unit.
Okay, thanks for the
As
clarification.
part of our adopted code, we have the energy code that's part and parcel of it, and there's no single glazed windows that are being allowed anymore.
Thank you, Joe.
I have some thoughts on this. And I know that we have no jurisdiction over what is the interior layout of a house, which is fine, but sometimes that will affect, obviously that will affect the placement of the windows. And if there is an opportunity when you're looking at the plans to do something to encourage the homeowner to arrange the bathroom such that they can put in a window that is more standard, looking to Old Bisbee aesthetic, to encourage that, with this only being a subsidiary alternative to that.
Yeah, but generally in bathrooms, the shower is on the end, up against the wall. as a rule, but not as a, all the time, of course. Like, that's pretty standard.
Other thoughts, comments, ideas?
As long as it's not glass block, I'm all for it. I don't have a problem with awning windows. Even transoms are very, very, but that wouldn't work in a shower, it'd open inward.
That would transit,
Yeah.
would not work. No.
But an awning, when it opens out, another place an awning window works well is above a kitchen sink. Because, again, you don't have the height in order to put a double hung, and it looks like a single pane of glass, but you can get some light, and, you don't want to sit in front of a wall as you do dishes, so I think that that's not unreasonable. It looks just like a regular fixed window, which we allow. Size-wise, I kind of hate to get into this. We're going to see we could do a maximum if we wanted, but each situation is so unique on its own. I think we just have to look and say, does this window look like it goes in the wall that we're going to be looking at, instead of saying this is the only particular size. I guess that's again, we have to use our own judgment. So I wouldn't want to put a size necessarily on something. We could easily say, could you make this, we need you to make this window smaller or larger or whatever. Anyway.
So you prefer to see any of these coming to the design review board, so we really wouldn't be giving you, Joe, as building inspector, administrative authority in this area. It would require that anything that included this kind of proposal come before us.
You want them to come before you?
It would anyway, right? And if they're gonna-
I do a administrative approval on windows quite a bit, as long as they're the approved windows, and, or, they're windows that are meeting the standards.
Right, well, if they're not, you don't allow them to change size
No,
and without coming before us.
right.
So the only administrative approval would just take whatever window there, if it's an ugly slider, and make it into an awning would be acceptable. Long as, size-wise is when somebody wants to rebuild a wall like he did and make windows smaller or larger and so on. So that's the way I think is administrative approval is fine for an awning window if it fits into the existing opening. But if it's going to be changed, then I don't want a particular size saying, well, you can't go bigger than a 2x3 or something. We just have to look at it individually when it does come before us.
Okay.
How does everybody else feel? I don't know.
That works for me.
So, I don't know if it takes a motion, but I think we could allow you to make administrative approval for awning windows to replace existing same size that are there, to get rid of a slider or to get rid of something else.
And if you guys get a plan like that in the future, that to look at, that we've already discussed this, and we won't, when we won't have to reinvent that too.
So at a practical level, Joe, at least that change where this...
Because I guide people a lot on what they're giving to you guys.
But at a practical level, if you had that approval, if we made that modification, approved it, that would give you better guidance at this point, more to work with than what you have now, and the results that...
Yeah,
you've
somebody
got?
give me a plan, I'd say, well, you don't want to do that, try this, this is, an approved design.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, thoughts, ideas? Okay, like we're starting to get to that witching hour where the energy level's starting to go, so shall we propose? Someone feeling inspired enough to propose?
I propose that we let Joe make a decision on an awning or, what's the other? Transom type window over a bathtub situation, or something that seems reasonable along those lines.
Well, that's, so I don't want to be careful with language, because reasonable, what we just discussed is that it has to be, it would be replacing an existing sized window, right? The size would not be changing. Am I correct in my understanding?
If the size changes, then it would come before us, because it would...
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of that pink house that those people, they had two houses together there on Tombstone Canyon about 706, or, yeah, 706. Remember, they put in a sliding window in the first one. And I've got so many complaints about that, and I've actually sent them a notice before, told them they have to do something about that. But I think this would be a good solution.
Yeah.
Right. Most definitely.
So the proposal, if you just could maybe restate it,
So-
Commissioner Crowe?
That you would have the authority to allow the awning type window that wouldn't be enlarging the space, existing space, but would be of similar size, would just be a better mechanical operation. Hopefully, and preferably and hopefully replacing a aluminum sliding window.
And other such unacceptable things. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Ken, did you want,
No, I think to state as an amendment is that as administrative approval to replace or use an awning window in replacement for the exact size of what is existing, so that they're not thinking they can all of a sudden change the exterior and put a different size window in and without coming before us, that's all.
so are you agreeable to that change in language?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So with that modified language, do we have a second?
I'll second that again.
Thank you, Stefan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, Joe. Hopefully that provides you better guidance and better options for homeowners.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm going to suggest, in the interest of goodwill, that we table the remaining two. I think there were two items, item 10. Oh, just one?
Just
My
one.
goodness. Well, actually, I think this should be a slam dunk, so no. I'm going to push it, I'm going to push it just a little bit more.
Let's let them off the hook.
So, item number 10, discussion and possible action. Staff would like the board to advise whether to continue and deliver paper packets to board members. Time available for staff to take care of DRB-related issues is limited. Generating and delivering packets takes time and recourses. Will electronic delivery suffice for delivering the applications to the DRB? So in other words, instead of having all this, we would have all this available, as we already do, online, and we would be responsible to be bringing our laptops, mobile devices, etc., or printing out, if we so choose, to bring that material to our meetings. Can we open it up to?
And
Is there-
I can print them for you guys to pick up at the meetings.
That's what I was gonna say, is there any way, I mean, I come by here
Yeah.
quite often, I have no problem coming and picking up my own, if that would be okay. I really don't want to print them out at home or bring in any type of electronic device,
Yeah.
but would you be okay if I came and just picked it up here?
That'd be great.
I'll
But
print that.
when I scan, I've been scanning these and sending to you guys as I'm receiving them, so that you guys have time to.
Yeah, that's great.
To know ahead. This has only been the last
But
couple of
if
months
to
I
pick up
started
the
doing
packet
this.
here would be awesome for
Yeah,
me.
but I started sending them to everybody as I was getting them, so you guys have time to mull this stuff over
We
and not do
appreciate
it the
it.
last minute.
Hey, Mr. Crowe doesn't even have a printer, so.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes, I feel a little strong about this, and for me, it's important to actually have the packet as I go around and look at the properties, and as I'm sitting in my office in between patients with a few moments to check things out. It's really good for me to have the packet, and I'm fine if the city mails them. Mailing is fine.
Would
It
you
would be
be
fine.
a lot of
I'm
times-
not,
okay picking them up here?
I have no time in my
I'll bring them around
schedule
on
to-
Friday and such, and if I put them in the mail, I don't know when they're gonna get to you guys.
I guess
Some people who work at the post office
We could
will
do a
put it into
mixture,
the
of some people
boxes.
pick them up, or some people.
Others will
are
send
able
it to
be there
Phoenix, and
online.
it might come to you on Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
Is the only, I feel, I've been, so when it get, the time is tight, and I realize that you guys need those, and so that's why I go ahead and deliver them.
Yeah.
Because I know that you do need.
Because I think our mail goes, what, up to Phoenix?
But you guys tell me what, you
Back
guys
down
are
here,
the
so
boss,
that
there's
takes
no
away
problem.
the reliability
Either way.
factor for him.
Right, it's too bad that somebody can't, at the post office, can't just take them and stick them in the
No
post
such luck.
box.
Can I make a suggestion? I mean, our applicants give us all the paperwork, right? Still, we're not going to change that requirement. So my feeling is that I would like, if somebody wants to pick their packet up early, they can do it, but the packet will be here for us when I arrive. Because I like I don't want to print everything out. What I do is I look at it, I print one or two things or make notes, and then when I come, if we all have, I love the paper on the table when we're here. If you want it beforehand, then maybe you can arrange with Joe to meet him, or, not. The one thing I have a request, Joe, is that when you do scan them and send them out to us, I don't know whether they are a contributing structure or not. It doesn't always say that on the application.
Yeah, I think it almost never says that on the
Yeah,
application.
and so,
It goes up.
the only time I ever find that out is when finally when the agenda comes, and I like to look at them on that aspect too. So when you scan them, when you send them to us, this is a contributing structure. One of them didn't even have the address on it. It was, some of our applications are a little weak, but, and I understand that. So just kind of,
I'm keeping you sharp, Ken.
I know. Well, I caught one for you, but anyway. So I don't know. I would like my packet here. I'll bring my own little agenda I printed out and all the notes I made when I made my visits. If somebody needs their if somebody would like their packet before, why don't they just arrange with Joe on a pickup or delivery aspect as needed? How would that work? If you would like yours, then he can bring you and look.
All I can say is that I work from 9 in the morning till 7 in Sierra Vista, Monday through Friday, and I have no time to pick up the
Maybe Joe
packet.
drop yours off, if nobody else.
Yeah, how many of us here then would actually be happy with the packet being here when we get here at the meeting and read the rest of it online beforehand?
Well, let's get a quick show. of
I
hands.
would be
We can
happy
think
with
this
that.
identifies a possible solution, so
I'm okay.
Either way, if you come pick it up or it's here,
Yeah.
or you're reading it online, you already have an idea of what's going on.
Exactly.
Maybe Stefan is the only one who has.
But I've got to agree with Ken, it's handy, have the paper here, because I just make notes as we're discussing it on the actual item, and that helps.
So my understanding, there are two people, Commissioner Trujillo, Commissioner Bonifer, who want to get the packets provided to them.
Not delivered this, I would be glad to just pick it up at City Hall and easily do
So
that.
then we're really talking, one person has a need based on work schedule. I'm just saying,
Some of us don't work. I mean, I
Solar takes
understand.
gas money and tips.
so, Joe, if you were delivering one packet, but the rest were provided when people arrived here, would that make a difference? Because you're looking at time management, limited
Yeah,
amount of time you
yeah.
have. Would that be valuable to you?
That would. And you guys the bosses, and there's no hard feelings if you want it delivered or you don't, or whatever. There's just...
I think we're just looking at what's practical and what works for everyone concerned.
I don't have a problem with bringing it to you, Jeff. You know that.
Thank you.
But other members, if we're, based on what he's requesting, the rest of us are agreeing that we pick our packets up when we either before when we show up for our meeting. He would not be delivering packets to the remaining board members. Just want to make sure we're clear and he's clear.
You have to pick them up on a Thursday, right? Because you're not here for it.
Right?
Okay.
And what would be nice, I would say, if maybe in one of the emails that is sent with one of the proposals, that you just say, hey, packets at City Hall, or they're available, or just...
That's a good
just
idea.
to know that they are here, so we're not coming, I would not down here, hey, Joel, where's my packet? Hey, Todd, I don't have it. I won't see anyone.
I will
so-
give you another option that we did when I was on council, is they drop their packets opposite the police station, and they're there 24 hours. And you
I'm
just
not
go-
welcome there anymore.
I think we're going into dangerous territory here. So,
Just show up and they shove it under the glass. You don't have to even breathe. But anyway.
it looks like we've got a working agreement, because that's really what we're talking about, which is there's one packet we'll ask that you to deliver to Commissioner Trujillo. Other commission members, you will send out an email once packets are available for pickup here at City Hall, and then it's our responsibility to get
And I'll
your
continue
City Hall
scanning
hours
them.
to pick them up.
Scan them and make sure,
I'll continue scanning them and getting to you guys as soon as I can on that, and I will take your advice there, Ken, and look up the
Right. Just give me a
information
little
and
more.
put a note on the top of each.
If you'd kind of
Show
just
you
make what the agenda, like what you would make the agenda of with whatever you scanned out. So in other words, this is a contributing structure at such and such an address, blah, blah, blah. That would be good for me.
Okay, a description with it.
Yeah, that's all.
Sounds like a good solution?
Yep.
Yes?
Wow.
Okay. Now, future agenda item suggestions. Is anyone's brain working well enough that they want to suggest a future agenda item?
I think we're busy enough.
We seem to be quite busy, it's true. No? I'd love to entertain a motion to call this meeting adjourned.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. And thank you for those that hung out till the bitter end.
Good.
I gotta go and pick up my daughter. Later, guys.
See ya.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Take care. Yes, sir.